chargers, and then your next closest location is going to be Fenton. I've literally had the conversation with people, whether it be in Sullivan or wherever, going, man, I'm sitting on 10% charge. It would be nice if we had something closer. I've reached out to Tesla to try to get a charger at my current location, but I think because we are too far off the highway, that's the reason why they're not really. Right now, our current location is behind Blondie's in the old Peebly Dairy building, I think it was. And so that's why they're like, yeah, we're not looking at possibly doing that. So I think more so being next to the highway is going to end up being able to bring some of those. Not to mention our battery company that is kind of our sister company as well. They already build EV chargers. I've designed and built chargers that are over in the Netherlands now, or had been able to help with that design and implementation.
Okay. So are we talking the sale of the property, lease of the property, or what are we talking about? Or are we planning on giving the property away? What are we talking about? I'm asking the board.
That would have to be decided by the IDA in negotiations. So there hasn't been a decision made in that regard.
Okay. All right. Just a word of advice. I've been here for 35 years, and I've witnessed some things that have been tried before, promises that haven't been fulfilled, and there were no clawbacks put in place, and the property was either given away or sold, and the company didn't deliver on their promise. And the city was just out in the cold. The land was gone, they had no revenue, no money, no revenue. I think there should be some time to put in place some kind of implementation of a plan on how you want to develop this property, guarantees from this company and this investment firm that there is going to be some development and revenue in place for the city of St. Clair, not only today, but in the future. So that is something that needs to be talked about, discussed thoroughly before you jump on any type of bandwagon of any type of company without proven success. Thank you.
Can I say something to that real quick? I appreciate that 10%. Philanthropy is a big deal in my family. I'm a Shriner, and we do give back to the community. I'm also a Mason here and in the Masonic Lodge here in St. Clair. So I totally get what you're saying, completely appreciate it, and that is definitely something that is a part of us. We actually have what we call Eating with a Heart campaign. That is our company's philanthropy that we try to do, where we try to help people in need as well. So giving back to the city is something that, or to the community, if you will, is something that we're definitely all about. And I do hear you, a rising tide does raise all ships. So yep, I'm totally on board with it.
Well, once again, and I thank you, because I do get it that you're a very smart individual. I mean, anybody that can come up with the system that you came up with, although I know nothing about it, but just listening to what you said, I mean, that I totally appreciate your thought. But with that being said, you know, we know, and everybody I've ever talked to knows and realizes that we sit in an opportune location, Highway 44 and Highway 47. And for some reason, that has never taken hold and we've never developed. Prior to having the airport, we had just bits and pieces of land available, and there was a lot of good people that fought very long and very hard to get that property back. It was city property at one time, but again, passed, not mentioning no names, it was deemed that it was going to be given to the aviation FAA for some unknown reason. It never did come to fruition. That's just one instance. You know, I live here, and I've lived here for 35 years, and I would like to see that opportunity take hold, and for the city of St. Clair to grow, whether it be with you or whoever it may be, that whoever is making the decision, they need to in some fashion or some form, have some type of guarantees that we're not just giving this away and getting nothing in return. I hope I've made my point clear. I want to see the city grow, and I want to see it have revenue to support our police department and all the other employees in this town, and have some benefits for the people who live here. So let's don't hurry into anything. Let's think about it. Let's make some wise decisions. And if this is what we want, and it's going to fulfill our dreams, so to speak, of having a prosperous St. Clair, then so be it. But please, put safeguards in place so we're not shammed again. It's happened too many times. People have taken advantage of us, and we have nothing to show for it. Once this property's gone, what do you have to offer the next person that comes in? Do you have anything to offer? No, you have nothing to offer. So let's make it worthwhile. Like I said, a lot of people work very hard to get this property back, and don't just give it away. Make sure there's something in place that will benefit the city as a whole.
J. Rice, 6909 Pondwood Road. Questions for the guy that's got the money? Are you willing to put up a guarantee?
Guarantee, I don't know if you quite understand, like.
I understand, you're a funding mechanism.
Yeah, we're a
But
consultant.
someplace along the line, money's got to come from somewhere.
Right.
Before we can make a decision to sell a piece of property to somebody, you know, a lot of times we ask for proof of funds. What I'm asking for is proof of funds.
Oh, yeah, there'll be a point in time when there'll be that proof of funds. Could I give it to you right now? No, I mean, we're still early in the process.
How long is your process going to take?
I mean, there's a lot of factors.
Let's just say we go tonight. How long is your process going to take?
We're hoping to close financing by spring of next year.
Okay.
Yes.
So this would be a contingent deal upon
You
that?
have to get financing.
Sure.
I mean,
Okay.
one of the more critical pieces is going to be.
Oh, yeah, and it doesn't happen without the money, that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Jeff Duncan, 405 Kingsley Drive. Again, the money guy, okay? Not familiar with your firm.
Sure.
So kind of expand on what it is you do. I understand you bring in some grants, you bring in some investors. Give us an example of a town, 3,500 people. What have you done for that town?
Yeah, now that I have some time, if I have some time, I'll definitely give you some background.
Yep.
So I'm from a town called Crystal City.
Yep.
Familiar with that? It's about 2,000, a little over 2,000 people. It's where I went to high school, graduated.
Shut down
from.
PPG.
That's where
town down.
my wife and I dated in high school, got married after high school. We now live in a neighboring town, Festus. We call it the Twin Cities. Festus is a size of about 7,000 people or so, give or take. Very similar feel of town. So I still live in a community such as St. Clair. So I work in St. Louis, but I'm commuting back to Jefferson County, south of St. Louis. I've been involved in economic development for about 12 years now, and that's really my specialty is working. It's my passion. I came from a small town, and I saw that there was a gap in these towns where they didn't have access to the capital that maybe Chicago, St. Louis, New York, had access to. There was the big sophisticated developers that knew the routes, the paths to get to these forms of capital, but there were really good projects and sponsors that were missing out in these smaller communities that didn't have access to capital. So I got into consulting about 7 years ago to start doing that work. To give you an example, Northwest Tennessee, Lake County in Northwest Tennessee, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but very small town. In 2021, more recently, we helped fund a startup company called Excel Boats. They wanted to locate in Northwest Tennessee, and we got them enough funding where, new market tax credits, bank financing, there were some grants and incentives from the state of Tennessee that they were able to receive. And now they're fully operational at this time. We just actually funded in another neighboring town in Tennessee, in Union City. It was weird enough, boat people talk to each other, but we funded 4 boats It's another startup company, fishing and hunting boat company. And we were able to get them funded for about $10 million of financing, very small communities that we're helping out. We also help with nonprofit projects. So we just closed financing for Meals on Wheels in San Antonio, Texas. Larger market, but it was an organization. Again, they didn't have the ability or knowledge of some of these incentives that could help them with their project. Their project stalled for 5 years. And they were aware of these other incentives that could help get them over that hump, where they didn't have to go and borrow, and guarantee their children homes practically to get this funded. So, yeah, I mean, that's where my passion is. I'm from a small town. I get it. I get, the hesitancy or concern. In my hometown, it was the PPG site. I don't know if you're familiar with PPG. They left, and it's still a massive vacant area. Nothing. A lot of nothing. We had some salesmen come in, and we gave them that land. Exactly like I said, we gave them that land, and, it turned out ugly. And they were able to get it back, and, the next go around, they'll do a much better job in finding that right project. And, Cocoon, we believe in Cocoon. We believe in the technology. I think he's the Elon Musk of HVAC systems. He's doing something that's generational. It's much different than what's been done for the past 100 years. The individual that owns the development company that I'm at, Green Street, he uses his product in his house. We're going to look to use his product in every apartment building that we build, use all their HVAC systems. So I hope that answered your question.
What's Green Street's thoughts that out of this 80 some odd acres, Cocoon uses, Alan, what do you think?
Well,
10 acres or so, or?
Yeah, part of that we're still kind of finding, just because of, what can we get in solar generation too.
Okay.
So, we gotta have room for that. And that's where, trying to think of some of that in a different light of, I don't know if you've seen some of the Ameren sites that, it literally is just a field of solar panels.
Yeah.
Well, that's not doable, and nor does it look good, nor does it put dual use to the land. I think it's a waste of land, in my opinion. But, there's other ways to do it. And that's kind of where we're still figuring that out as far as, to be able to house a megawatt of energy, it actually doesn't take that much space, but we need the generation for that as well. And therein lies where the space is gonna come in, where, we're looking at solar panels, of course, all throughout the roof. I don't wanna be paying $1,000 a day in electric to Ameren, so I wanna generate my own, because we will be using our own technology as well as other green technologies in the build of the building and everything too.
Okay. So back to Green Street. We've got this 80 some odd acres, and Cocoon's using up, let's just for argument's sake say 20 acres.
Yeah.
All right. What are you going to do to develop the rest of that 60 some odd acres?
As of right now, we have no agreement that we would be.
Okay.
We'll definitely explore it if there's an interest from the city or a request for us to. So let me back up and say we have a handful of industrial parks in St. Louis that we've developed and
Okay.
been successful in that. We got our start at Green Street in industrial, so we like industrial. There's a heavy demand for it, and we like the story behind industrial projects, good job creators, good paying jobs. We have to look further at the site to see if there's the ability to put an industrial park. If that's the need or the request of the community, we're not going to come in and say, this is what we're doing. But by no means, we have no agreement
Okay.
or anything with the city. We're not
I
signing
guess-
up. We're helping Alan's project,
Okay.
his project.
And Alan, your goal is to get the entire 80 some odd acres. So what's the question then jumps off to him, to you, same question.
As far as like what else?
What's the plan for, the rest of it?
Yeah, so looking at that, like I said, trying to bring in one of our other suppliers, if not a couple of them, who are located here in St. Louis or are landlocked in St. Louis, that kind of thing. If that doesn't work out, listening to the meeting before and hearing that, yes, we would like some commercial property there, if you will, or, some retail space. I think it can be done. It just needs to be done in a different fashion, if you will, than just the old, strip mall access.
Sure.
I was kind of talking with Charlene a little bit as far as like some sort of type of business incubator too, to where, this is just an idea, this is not set in stone, so please don't take it that way. You know, where, okay, is there something that we could have, you know, a main bathroom facility and have your chutes off of that 5, 6, 8, 10 businesses sharing that one area there to where, you know, it kind of becomes little pods or whatever the case. I'm seeing some of that done over in Europe now, you know, to where you're helping your business owners, you know, cut their overhead, which is key to any business, you know, continuing to be able to thrive or grow, you know, for that matter. So, I mean, I think there's a number of different ideas that could go there. And ultimately, if I'm the one that, you know, acquires the property, it's my neck on the line on all of it. You know, I'm the one that's
There's a
on the
number
all
of
the
business
finance.
parks in St. Louis that has everything from doctor's offices to retail to manufacturing, that's all in these same little business parks.
Mhm.
But it has to be put together to where it looks like, hey, this is not a big fat manufacturing facility.
Right.
It's got a nice facade, it looks like an office, you walk in the office and behind it, you know, you got
Yeah.
X number of feet of warehouse.
Right, yeah, if you're gonna do a business park or it's gonna be a master plan, there's more of a cohesive plan and it's not just scattered. It's like, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question for Alan, too, once again. My reservation is, we give you the full section, the property at some points becomes very valuable. You will be the beneficiary of that increasing value. I looked at 9 acres in Cuba Friday, off of the beaten path, it was $150,000 an acre. So would you be willing, or would you come up with a number of actual acreage that you need so that the city controls the rest of that property, so the future development would not only benefit you, but it would be available for you to purchase, or available for the next guy that comes in too?
Well, and I, you know, to like say, oh, yes, you know, or
No,
whatever.
but I've asked you multiple times,
Yeah.
how much do you need?
Yeah.
And you keep coming back with, I don't know, I want it all.
Yeah, and that's kind of right. Well,
Yeah.
that's kind of where we're at in the design aspect of this too. Of, okay, you know, not just the facility, you know, it's 100,000 square foot, which I think is 3 acres, if I'm not
2.5.
mistaken. Or something like that, yeah. But then when you start looking at the solar production, then obviously we need more space.
And we've talked about that solar production. If you're gonna use undeveloped space for solar production, it's a waste.
I
And you agreed to that.
I agree.
We've already had the conversation. So, I mean, we have to find something to put under that so that you can use the solar on top of it, because that's free. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a number of different ways, you know, Germany's using some of it for agricultural purposes. You know, I mean, they raise all their solar panels up and use the land underneath it, you know, I mean, there's a number of different things that can be done.
Yeah.
I really think it's a matter of, and I'm not saying it needs to be agricultural.
And I understand, and you're just making a point that it can be multi-use, and I appreciate that. But I'm gonna tell you that I have reservations about giving you the entire package and saying, I'll run with it. Because here's the deal, I believe in your product, I think you have a great product. But I've heard it said tonight that you have an HVAC system, and you do not. You have a furnace. I've asked you about that. You don't marry it with an air conditioning coil. It can be married with everything else. I'm a builder, I'm a developer. When I go out and buy an HVAC system, I don't go buy the engine over here and the transmission over here. A guy brings a package in and puts it together, and that same guy warranties the entire thing. I think you're missing the envelope there with packaging something of it, somewhere though.
Actually, that's what I'm saying, we white label those. So for example, right now, we're using Shirk, which is a root or ream. You know, we've paired to anything. You know, when it comes to the other side of that, the other point of that, what you're using out of the furnace is airflow. And it doesn't.
Airflow to A-coils.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at that point. So like the A-coils, for example, we use Aspen as well. That's our secondary line that we use. So, you know, yes, we are a complete system. It's just that, you know, the white label, whether it says Cocoon on it, either way, it's still our system. When you get right down to it, we're still the one holding the whole warranty on the whole system.
If there's not any other questions, aside from the IDA, we can get back to the Board of Aldermen meeting.
I
Those
do have one
questions that
question,
come
and
through.
I am not with the IDA. Thank you, wrong one again. Again, how does it generate revenue for the city? Real estate taxes, I understand that, but how does it generate revenue for the city?
Yeah, so I got to pay taxes on machinery, personal property taxes, everything else. So I mean, just,
We're going to be losing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars and possibly getting maybe $50,000 in taxes.
I don't know what the rate or currency is on that, but yeah, either way.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions? Thank you, Alan.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have